Hi, this is Mike from Decision Pro. This video is intended for students to help them navigate and use our Enginius platform. You should have received a handout from your instructor which explains how to register your account on Enginius and then how to link your Enginius account to your license. If you have not completed this registration process, you may want to return to this video after you've done so. To get started on Enginius, simply open your browser of choice, navigate to enginius.biz, and you'll arrive at our landing page. On our landing page, you'll notice a link for some quick tour videos. Feel free to explore those at your leisure. There's also an overview of each model in our system, as well as FAQs for each of those models. I encourage you to explore those as time permits. You'll spend most of your time, however, on our dashboard, and we're going to go directly to that dashboard by simply clicking Launch Dashboard. Let me orient you to the layout of our dashboard. In the top left is what we call our quick links. They show you case studies, tutorials, templates. We'll go over each of those. Below them are blocks for each one of the models that you may be using in your course. In the main body of the page, you'll see what we call data blocks. We'll cover those in detail. This is the data that you'll be providing to input to the model. And finally, along the top are icons that control your session. And we're going to go over each one of those icons briefly. The first icon you might want to look at is Settings. I'm going to turn on Tips because that's on by default, and you'll see how that operates later in the video. Reset simply resets the page that you're on. Save will save the page that you're working on. By the way, this will save to your account. We'll explore that later. Load will load data from your account. Report history is a file that lives for 30 days. Every report that you generate on Enginius will be saved in your report history for 30 days. Feedback allows you to provide feedback to us. We appreciate feedback, both positive and negative. We're also always trying to improve our system, so please share with us your thoughts. Protect account is how you can assign how you want to be contacted to validate your account or in case you get locked out. And finally, the quit button does exactly what it does. It says it will quit your session. Let's go back to our quick links and let's explore tutorials. Let's look at the positioning tutorial. By the way, I think it's a good idea to explore the tutorial for any model that you're about to use before you get into the model itself. The tutorial will explain in great detail not only how to complete the data blocks and what they mean, but also how to interpret the reports. As you can see, the tutorial is in PDF format. When I click that, it will open in a new tab and you'll see it downloaded here at the bottom of your screen. If I simply click that tutorial, it will open in a new tab, and I'll have that available to me as I go through the OfficeStar dataset itself. Just to mention, by the way, that there is an OfficeStar dataset for every one of our models, and it will be in your best interest to review that tutorial and the OfficeStar dataset before you undertake any of the cases that you might be assigned. You'll notice that when I clicked on the positioning tutorial, several quick links changed. One is the tutorial in PDF format that I showed you earlier, and this icon actually runs our analysis. Let's run the analysis for our OfficeStar dataset so I can explain a few things about how these models operate. When you click on Run Positioning, it pre-populates all of the data blocks according to what they should be populated. You'll see that each of the data blocks is available, and it's important that you choose the right data block for the data that you are trying to analyze. Our default is to automatically determine the number of dimensions in a data set. In this particular case, I'm going to override this to 3 dimensions because I want to show you something in the output. Finally, if you are focused on one brand, you can identify that brand and it will be highlighted in the report. Before I click the Run button, let me show you this little globe and the drop down beside it. All of our output by default is generated as a web page, but you can generate our output in any one of these formats. So if your professor asks you to make a presentation to the class, you might want to generate your output in PowerPoint so that you can later annotate that PowerPoint file to demonstrate your conclusions. In this case, we're going to go with a web page, and we're going to simply click Run. You'll see the progress bar spinning, and then the report will be opened in a new tab on your browser. I'm not going to go over the contents of this report in general. Your professor will do that in class, but I do want to show you one thing on the positioning output itself, since this is a new feature that we just introduced, and you might want to have a look at this. In the web output, and this 3D visualization is only available in the web format, you can rotate the map so that you can see how your brands are positioned in the 3 dimensions of our spatial map. You can also, if you click on Objects, choose the brand that you want to examine further, and then using these sliders, you can move the position of that brand so that you can see if you improve on that particular dimension, will you improve the position of your brand in the market. Let's return to the dashboard now and run an actual case. In this case, I'm going to use the BlackBerry Pearl case, which is also a positioning case. You'll see that this has a number of brands and a number of dimensions. We have preference data for how each respondent to a survey rated the particular brand based on the attributes. I'm going to run positioning. I'm going to take all of the defaults and I'm going to let the system automatically determine the number of dimensions. And I'll include BlackBerry Pearl as our focal brand. Let's go ahead and run positioning analysis on our BlackBerry Pearl dataset. I'm simply going to click Run Positioning. I'm going to let it take all of the default values and click Run. And you'll see our report is generated just as in the Office Star example, and you'll see that same 3D display that allows you to manipulate brands to improve your position in the market. This is a good time to review what's happening in report history. You'll see that every time I run positioning, I generate a report called positioning analysis. If you run a lot of analysis, as you can see I've done, it will become confusing as to which one was the one you may have wanted to keep. So you might want to click on that, use the rename function to simply annotate what this test was. This was a test I did at 9:29 a.m. So I'm simply going to make that note, and then you'll see that in your report history. It will help you keep track of the various reports that you might want to run. Let's return to the dashboard. One other thing I'd like to cover is the use of templates. Occasionally you might be asked to analyze data that you have gathered externally, and in order to get that data into the format that Enginius requires, we strongly suggest that you make use of the template process. Let's continue in the positioning model. You'll see when I open the template for position, it asks me how many objects am I going to analyze. This is basically brand. So let's assume we're looking at, say, 4 different types of beer. So we'll put that down. And the number of dimensions you can consider as attributes. So let's assume we might want to look at taste, price, and what kind of container they are. So let's say we're going to have 3 dimensions. In the preference data block, this is the number of respondents you might have in this particular survey. You can include this segment membership if you have segment identifiers. In this case, we're just going to run the template, and you'll see it it filled the template with the 4 brands that we selected and the 3 dimensions. We can click in any one of those cells and rename it. Any of the cells we can rename it. It's probably a good time to look at the elements on this data block. This X will delete the data block. That will create a new blank data block. This will duplicate the data block. This will collapse the block so that it's small, takes up less screen room. This simply allows you to move a data block up or down. You'll also see that we generated preference data for our 30 respondents across the brands. Again, you would have to use this template in order to gather your data for further analysis. Once you've generated the template, you need to get this in a format you can use. The best way to do that is to use the Save button, and I would save it as an Excel spreadsheet. You'll see that the spreadsheet is downloaded to in your browser. You can open that on your local system and then populate that template with the data that you have collected. After having done so, you can simply use the load function, and load will allow you to upload an Excel spreadsheet. Opens up Explorer and you can browse to the data set that you want to upload. That completes the overview that I'd like to do today. I'd like to encourage you to reach out to us if you encounter any difficulty with Enginius or your data, or you have a question in general, and we'll get back to you very quickly. Thanks for watching.